Hello class, today we'll be learning about corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility, or as it is popularly called as CSR, is a self-regulating business model that helps a company be socially accountable to itself, its stakeholders, and the public. So here a company is actually socially accountable or socially committed to itself, that is for the company itself, for all its stakeholders and the public. CSR is a process by which an organization thinks and evolves its relationship. That is, day to day, it is trying to evolve all its relationship with the stakeholders for the common good and demonstrates its commitment in this regard by adoption of appropriate business processes and strategies which will never hamper the common good. So CSR in another way is not charity or donations. CSR is not charity or donation. It is a different process. CSR is a way of conducting business in which corporate entities visibly contribute to the social good. They are trying to contribute more towards the common good of the whole people. Socially responsible companies integrate the economic, the environmental, and the social objectives in its company's ideas. So these are the three things which almost all companies try to incorporate. They try to incorporate the environmental facets, the economic aspects, and the social objectives. And that's how they function. Howard Bowen is considered as the father of CSR or corporate social responsibility. Howard Bowen is an American economist, and he was the first to talk about social responsibility of corporations in his book Social Responsibility of the Businessman, written in 1953. The four components of CSR is discretionary, economic, legal, and ethical. So these are the four main components of CSR, that is discretionary, economic, the legal component, and the ethical component. The discretionary responsibility. The discretionary responsibility is voluntary and guided by a company's desire to make social contribution, not mandated by economic, law, or ethics. Discretionary activities include philanthropic contributions that offer no direct financial payback to the company and are not expected. So discretionary responsibilities are all those responsibilities which a company tries to contribute, or they don't expect anything in return. So there is no direct financial payback, but they're giving to the society and they don't expect anything in return. The ethical responsibility. Ethical means what is right and what is wrong. So ethical responsibility means, in simple terms, means the license to operate. Ethical responsibility includes the way a firm or an industry is expected to operate. It should not try to do something which is wrong, which is harmful for the society. So there's always, when a business is started or a company is started or an industry is started, they always have to look into the ethical aspect, whether we are doing right or whether we are doing wrong. What are we doing wrong? So these are the things that they have to think of when they think of the profit. They have to think about the planet. They have to think about the people that they are surrounded with. The legal responsibility. Legal responsibility, in which they operate for certain things like the regulations of various laws, such as there should be labor law, there should be environmental law, there should also be criminal law. Like when you are setting up an industry, you have to see to that the certain laws are embedded in it so that people function very nicely. An industry should function so that the environment won't be hampered, and an industry should function, and no criminal activities should happen out there. So, simple terms, business firms can attain profits within the control of various laws. Economic responsibility. To understanding economic responsibility, we have to know about the consumeristic perspective and meeting their needs and demands to earn a profit in the economic responsibility of a business. We have to think not only just making money, but how we can actually incorporate the economic, the environment, and the social aspect, and just come in consensus. We have to think about recycling stuff, and we have to think about the planet as a whole. Then only economic responsibility is also nurtured. Why do we study about CSR, or why do we study about corporate social responsibility? We're learning about all those things because we are living in a globalized world. Everything is interconnected. There is growing access to educational facility not only in our country but abroad, increased access to information and technology. We are aware about the good and the bad about many chemicals, or when we are able to get access to information. And we know that monopoly has come down. It's no longer one person or one industry which is dominating the others. Everybody has a say in the society at large. There's greater awareness of the environmental hazards and distrust in corporate scandals. What we have to know is, like, today environmental hazards are no longer something which only few people know about. Almost everybody has an idea about environmental hazards. Moving on from there to the economic responsibilities of corporates, the financial profit, the economic growth, and the asset creation is an important thing. At the same time, economic impact via outsourcing and social investment is on an increase. We find that many of the countries are on an increase to invest in other places. The economic regulation and tax incentives is another reason why these corporates are engaging in economic responsibilities. IPR, or intellectual property rights, the patents and trademark, etc., is also another reason. The social responsibilities of the corporates. The labor rights, they cannot employ child labor, or at the start of our industrial revolution, we saw that even children were employed in industries. That is no longer possible. There is a lot of restriction, there's a lot of laws that has been enforced, especially with minimum wages and minimum time for working. There's right to work, there is protection against unjustified dismissals, there is right to raise opinion. Everyone in an industry has the power to give an opinion about himself because there is freedom of expression in our country. There's right to privacy, that is like secured personal information. You cannot leak out everything from your company. And then is right to family life and cultural right, and so on. The economic responsibility of corporations. We know we have to think about the recycle, reduce, and reuse. The notion has come very much so in our society. In the protection of the forest resources, because initially when industries were created, there was a lot of deforestation, and then industries were set up. Today, there is a lot of forest resources which we have to protect, and hence when an industry is set up, all these things are catered into, that the natural fauna should not be hampered. And then avoid soil and water contamination. So each industry, when they are set up, they should not hamper the soil or the water around it. There is treatment of wastewater, which in earlier times were found very less, but today we find a lot of treatment of wastewaters. And avoid greenhouse gases. Emission of greenhouse gases is being curbed actually, so that global warming could also be reduced. Coming on to CSR in India, on April 1st, 2014, India became the first country to legally mandate corporate social responsibility. April 1st, 2014, India became the first country to legally mandate CSR. The rules in Section 135 of the India's Companies Act make it mandatory for companies of certain turnover and profitability to spend 2% of their average net profit for the past 3 years on CSR. This is a clause that is given in the Section 135 of the Indian Companies Act. So companies with a high turnover have to spend at least 2% of their average net profit for CSR projects. The list of CSR activities in India: eradicating extreme hunger and poverty, that is promotion of education, then promoting gender equality, reducing child mortality, ensuring environmental sustainability, employment enhancing vocational skills, then social business projects, and models of corporate social responsibility. There are different models that has been set up, like the Friedman model, the Ackman model, and so on. In 2011, actually, Porter Dan Kermer shared a new concept. We were discussing about CSR, and he gave this new thing as CSV, that is corporate shared value. So this is, has just come up in 2011. And the main difference between CSR and CSV is that CSR is about using a business resource to respond to social and environmental problems in the world, while CSV is incorporating that positive social and environmental impact into the company's business model. There are a few list of companies that are engaging in CSR. That is Tata, Wipro, Godrej, Infosys, and ITC. And just to recap what we learned, we know that Howard Bowen is known as the father of CSR. There are 4 components of CSR, that is the ethical, discretionary, economic, and legal. Then there's something called the triple bottom line. That is, whenever you're thinking about CSR, you have to keep these 3 things in mind: the people, the planet, and the profit. The profit that you make, you have to give back to the people and the planet. Not just making profit, that should not be your sole thing in mind. The list of CSR activities in India, to recap, is eradicating extreme hunger and poverty, promotion of education, promoting gender equality, and reducing child mortality, ensuring environmental sustainability. Thank you.